Hello my friends, welcome back to Keto in the Chaos. My name is Tammy and this is an episode of Mentor Mondays. You may be wondering how often you should eat. So that's what this video is about. Muscle protein synthesis, intermittent fasting. How often should you really consume food on a ketogenic way of eating? Can snacking inhibit your weight loss? Let's find out. So for starters, what I recommend when someone is just starting out on a ketogenic way of eating is to divide their macros evenly in thirds and do 3 meals a day. I don't really give any advice other than 3 meals per day. I don't want to stress people out too much. People see that I only do 2 meals per day, and I encourage them to start with 3 because jumping from eating all day and snacking right to 2 meals is pretty overwhelming. And so I recommend doing 3 at the beginning, but it just seems like it kind of takes a turn after you become fat adapted about 4 to 6 weeks into your ketogenic journey. Most people just don't feel like eating in the morning, and naturally their bodies just move into a 2-meal way of eating. And that's what happened to me. I actually don't do intermittent fasting for the health benefits or the weight loss benefits. I really do it only for convenience. But there are benefits to intermittent fasting that you may want to look into and decide if that's something that you would like to try. But for all intents and purposes for this video, we are just talking about how to maximize your calories and your proteins and fats in the way that you consume them to make you lose fat faster and keep and build more lean muscle mass. And that is where muscle protein synthesis comes into play. Muscle protein synthesis is the process that your body uses to basically break down and build up muscle. It's stimulated several ways, but one of the main ways that muscle protein synthesis is stimulated is by consuming protein. In specific, the amino acid leucine, which is the trigger for muscle protein synthesis. Most people need to consume a minimum of 30 grams of protein to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. Usually you will get enough leucine in the amount of protein that you consume in order to start the process. You can stimulate the muscle protein synthesis process multiple times during the day, but the problem is that it doesn't really benefit you because once muscle protein synthesis is stimulated, it has to actually peak and die off in order to be stimulated again. So if you decided you wanted to do, for example, like snack all day, every time you snack, the protein that you're eating is basically wasted protein. It's not going to benefit your muscles because the MPS has already started and it won't begin again until the amino acids die off. In fact, snacking could inhibit the amino acids dying off and thus inhibit it being stimulated again. So the most beneficial time period between meals is 3 to 4 hours. Personally, I recommend 4 just to be on the safe side, but it is 3 to 4 hours for those amino acids to come down to the baseline so that they can then be stimulated to go up again. Each time muscle protein stimulus is stimulated, your body is then using that time to build your actual muscle. You break down muscle by not having enough protein, by having the wrong kinds of protein, by inactivity, things like that. And you build muscle up and stimulate muscle protein synthesis by moving your body, strength training, consuming good amounts of protein, and protein from good sources. So those are the things you need to keep in mind when you're doing this ketogenic way of eating, because if you're able to maintain and build your lean muscle, you're going to burn fat even faster, and that's going to maximize your fat loss. So that's why muscle protein synthesis is so important on a ketogenic way of eating. I recommend beginning with 3 meals a day spaced 3 to 4 hours apart. And then if you want to over time, you can do 2 meals spread 4 hours apart. When you do that, you're going to divide your macros into 3, and when you do intermittent fasting, you're going to divide your macros into 2. This means that yes, when you divide your macros into two and do intermittent fasting, you might not get all the benefits of all that protein you're consuming, because you could have stimulated muscle protein synthesis one more time to get more lean muscle. So when you're thinking about intermittent fasting, don't forget muscle protein synthesis. It's definitely an important piece of the puzzle. And you have to weigh out the pros and cons of the benefits of fat loss for intermittent fasting, but the benefits of muscle protein synthesis for having the 3 meals. The 3 different times that you eat where the leucine will stimulate muscle protein synthesis. So I digress. Really, you kind of have to choose how you feel. And honestly, I have to just go based on what I can do. And so I've chosen to do intermittent fasting, though I don't really do it the way that everybody says. I don't even keep it into my 8-hour window. You could accomplish intermittent fasting and stimulate muscle protein synthesis 3 times by eating, say, at 11 a.m., 3 p.m., and 7 p.m. So you could divide your meals up that way, keep it within that 8-hour window, and maximize both things. I personally can't do that because of my schedule, but if you do that, I would totally love to know how you feel and whether or not that seems to be working for you and whether or not you seem to be getting stronger and building more muscle. So let me sum up. When beginning a ketogenic way of eating, I highly recommend 3 meals spaced 4 hours apart. You can move to intermittent fasting once you become fat adapted and you just feel like it. And I recommend 2 meals at least 4 hours apart in an 8-hour window. Or you can do 1 meal a day. But remember, when you're choosing to do 1 meal a day and consuming all of your protein in 1 meal, you're missing out on the other times you could have been stimulating muscle protein synthesis, and a lot of the protein that you eat will be wasted. So keep that in mind as you begin a ketogenic way of eating. Please let me know if you have any questions that I can help you with. Please join our Facebook group. We are super supportive, awesome group where everyone is welcome, and we are all about education and helping people be successful in losing fat. The link is in the description below. And thank you so much for liking and subscribing. I appreciate the support so much. I can't even tell you how grateful I have been to read all of your amazing comments. I'm going on vacation this week, and I promise you I'm going to get down to looking at every single comment and responding and giving you all your little hearts and thumbs ups, because I love every one of you, and I want you to know that I appreciate you and that I'm so glad that you are here. Well, that's all I have for you today. Thanks for hanging out with me. We'll talk to you again soon.